welcome to Yeah We Read It. I am your host, Maggie.
And I'm your other host, Laura.
And we are two best friends discussing young adult novels from our youth. This season, you probably know we are reading The Uglies Trilogy by Scott Westerfeld. And this is part 3 of the last book of specials. And you guys, we have been freaking out. This is the fastest I think either of us have finished a section.
I know, it took us like days to get through this. But it was also only 90 pages. But shit, so much happens in this section.
It moves so fast. I think Laura told me she read like the first 90 pages of it just like so fast. I did too. I finished it in one night.
I know, I finished it in 2 nights. I did like the first 40 pages one night and then like the latter 50, like after you caught up, I was like, oh my god, I have to finish this now.
So safe to say, we are really excited to talk about
I know, I remember going into it thinking, I was like, man, 90 pages, can we make a whole episode about this? And I was like, absolutely we can after reading it. I was, oh my god.
There's so many moving parts. And
I know.
Like, okay, yes. Spoiler alert, I was high reading this, but the action actually moved so fast that I could visualize it.
Yeah, like, it's like Scott Westerfeld does write visual scenes well. So well.
Yes.
He also writes really good character. Like, he's a good writer. I'll say it.
Yeah, this is the first section that I could be like, okay, it's fucking wartime.
Yeah.
And I knew.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's
With
start
that
off.
being said,
Let's do it.
We literally start off with it being wartime.
It is wartime.
And oh my god, can you imagine, you know, you've just escaped this surgery like Tally has, it's where we left off.
Yes.
And you are standing on the roof of a hospital, watching the horizon, realizing that you indirectly started a war because of your best friend's actions.
I know. I kind of imagine it like there's like a yellow, ominous low light on the horizon, and all of the armada is coming in.
You just watch the sky change colors, and then the machines coming
all
in.
the smoke
you
and the
can
fog.
see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was she at the hospital? I thought she was on a different building getting to the hospital.
I thought they were on the roof of the hospital or a roof of a different building.
I was confused because apparently this is next to Town Hall, wherever she is.
Yeah.
Because Town Hall is the target of special circumstances.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, I was like, but what makes Town Hall so special? And it's not till, like, later we learned that Town Hall is where, like, their interface is. So, like, without it, it basically shuts down, like, all of their technology. And I'm like, right, that's so shitty. I get that now.
Like the New York City blackout in 1977? That's what's happening right now in this
Wow.
town. I was watching the Son of Sam documentary today. I could not get into it.
Oh, I don't know what documentary that is.
It's just another serial killer one. You know me.
There's too many serial killers out there.
So, Special Circumstances is bombing Town Hall, and Shay is, like, telling Tally that they need to evacuate the hospital immediately.
Yeah, and Tally immediately, like, sees a bunch of, like, hospital people trying to, like, get kids out. And Tally's like, I need to save these children. Oh my god.
Yep.
And,
because they don't realize that they're in the middle of war.
Yeah, well, it's like, I think they do, but I don't think they realize how detrimental it is. I think they're just like, oh, we're evacuating, and, like, this, like, war doesn't happen. And then Tally's like, no, you little shits, war is happening. Yeah. Let me help you. And, we have a big old action scene with her getting on the back of a hover machine and, like, using it as a hoverboard to kind of direct it away.
I kind of imagined, like, a Disney Pixar scene where she's, like, jumped from a burning building and is holding on to, like, one of those hoverboards that has, a million different video cameras to, like, watch her, but they have their own, like, sentience, so they're, like, detecting and trying to get away from her, and she's trying to, like, ride it over to the hospital. Because her hovercraft, as you probably know, Tally really likes aborting hoverboards and pushing them to their limits. Her hoverboard, once again, has completely disintegrated, so she needs to get one of Special Circumstances.
Oh, man. And then, God, where was I even going with this? So Tally, in this entire exchange, she gets detached from the rest of her Cutter group.
Yep.
And basically realizes that she's about to get crushed by, like, the last remaining infrastructure of Town Hall. Mm-hmm. And then she pings the Cutters to come get her. Mm-hmm. They get out in the nick of time. And this is another big thing I can visualize, because she's getting away with, like, Shay and Ho. And that's when, like, the final crash happens with the building. And the shockwave comes to hit them. Like, I could visualize that, like, kind of barrier shooting towards them and just knocking them out completely.
Oh, for sure. When she's like says that she can feel the ground beneath her rumbling, and then she kind of like turns around to see Town Hall collapsing. I could really visualize that.
And it's weird to be like, we've never seen a shockwave in real life because those don't I guess really happen.
Yeah.
But we can visualize exactly what it is because it's almost like an avalanche of sound.
Yeah. Also, Scott wrote the building going down as a balloon deflating.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's the best way to describe something.
And that's
like
it.
That.
He did such a good job of describing what we needed to see in this war. And
exactly.
You could see it.
Yep, so the Cutters do come, 2 of them come and get her, and they, because obviously she alerted them through the skin antenna, she turned them back on.
Yeah.
And they grab her wrist, just as this tidal wave of smoke from
the
Town Hall crumbling is like growing larger behind them. So they race out of the cloud's wake, and they touch down near where Shay is, and she explains that Special Circumstances isn't trying to destroy Diego. They just want to turn it into another city like New Pretty Town.
Yeah,
like
they're
strict and controlled, which not the worst thing.
Yeah, trying to take over, but still pretty bad.
Not as bad as destroying the place. It's like, oh, okay, so the party's still, the vibes are off, but they're not as bad as they could be.
Yeah, so still, like, not great news, though, because it's just like, you know, all of this progress that's being made, the government still just wants to have control. So it's basically Dr. Cable's entire plan to let the city suffer and then come in at the nick of time to be like, we'll save you guys.
Oh yeah, save your complex for sure.
And then we have a really good moment here where, like, Tally does think about just, like, leaving. Tally's like, I don't need to be here for this. Like, I can go off by myself.
Yeah.
But we have a good moment with her and Shay where Shay explains how things are different now that she's not special anymore, and I think that's really important because she talks about how it's less intense and less rigid, and she has just such a wave of relief for not being like that anymore.
Yeah, the war makes Tally kind of have a, just, dare I say, moment of clarity of unbrainwashing herself, because she realizes, the side that I am on is starting something bad, and maybe it's not great to be like the human embodiment of a missile.
Yeah, and Shay's like, Tally, you can like rewire, you can cure yourself, I know you can. But I'm gonna say it, after reading this, I don't think Tally's fully cured.
No, absolutely
exactly.
not.
So I'm mad about that, but we'll get there. So now they have to go through like the hospital to kind of make sure people are getting the help they need, the people who didn't get to evacuate.
Mm-hmm. Shay also does, when Tally and her are having their little heart-to-heart moment, really puts into words, I feel like we've described Special Circumstances, but it was a very good paragraph where she's explaining like what the whole point of Special Circumstances is to Tally, and explains that it's, you know, like how they taught in the school, it's how some people were rich in rusty days, and they didn't really deserve it, and that's, you know, it just takes convincing that making someone believe that they're better than everyone else. And Tally has a moment where she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm not that great.
Exactly.
And then I feel like that is when she probably starts realizing.
Yeah. It's a very slow burn with Tally, like, unbrainwashing herself.
Yeah.
So they're looking through the hospital, and then we have to talk about it. Because Tally gets a ping from Shay, and Tally's like, oh no, Tally, you have to come to like room 340 on the 3rd floor. And Tally's like, what's going on? And it's Zane, who is unconscious and was not able to be evacuated in this moment of distress.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot happened with Zane when he showed up to Diego. As you might have known in part 2, we did discuss, Tally has a very cruel outlook on the world. She has no time for people who are weak, and Zane has had a considerable amount of brain damage, so he was left with, like, really bad tremors.
Yeah.
And Zane wanted to fix this when he got there, and so the doctors kind of reassessed on top of his brain damage, trying to, like, get back all of his motor functions. But his body rejected his new brain tissue, and his life alert tried to ping staff, but there was no one nearby. And like Laura said earlier, since the city was overloaded by the evacuation, and there's an emergency channel that goes through the city interface, They couldn't get to it.
Yeah.
Town hall was gone.
They couldn't, like, at the moment he needed, like, to be fixed, there was no doctors on standby because they were all being evacuated. And so now he's essentially brain dead.
Yep, he tried to get a physical control upgrade, and it wiped out his speech and cognitive functions, but the worst part, so sad reading, he can't even breathe on his own, and he'll never regain consciousness.
Yeah, and it's basically like he's just permanently there but not there. And that's just, like, that is, like, God, that is just, like, the worst thing to happen, I think. And what a terrible, it's like, because you're not dead, but you are.
Yeah.
And there's no even hope that you're coming back.
Do you think that if everything was going normal, they could have, like, fixed him?
I think that's what they implied, because the doctors were like, we couldn't answer his ping, and so we couldn't get to him. And I'm gonna be honest, I did not like the casualty of the doctors, because they were like, yeah, he's pretty much gone.
But
so
we need this bed.
They're like, but we got a lot of people who are injured, so we could get this bed back. It was like, dude, like, read the fucking room. Like, you can have your bed back, but also, like, let this girl be sad for a second.
I think he said, too, because since Tally is a weapon and everyone was terrified of her, that when they were, like, saying that they need the bed back, they got, like, those really long electric sticks to, like, electrify her if she did attack, being like, your boyfriend's dead, and we need this back.
And then also, like, big issue with Shay here, because Tally's like, I want to say goodbye to my boyfriend. And she's like, no, we have to go stop the war. It's a lost cause now. And it was just like, what the fuck, Shay?
I know.
I was so mad. So I was like, you're just not going to let her say goodbye to her boyfriend who's dead now? Because of something you started?
And I, for like a little bit was, I mean, Shay has had her own handful of fucked up shit happen, but I was like really starting to like empathize a little bit again on part 3, get back on her team, and then after that I was like, come on, her boyfriend just died.
Like, let her have a moment. And Tally's like, let me be the center of the universe for 5 more minutes. And I was like, that's not being the center of the universe.
Yeah.
That's a normal response.
Your boyfriend inadvertently died because you, basically twice, because you started this war, so the town hall crumbling is because of you, and him being like, I'm not good enough for my girlfriend is also, unfortunately, because of you.
I want to hear your opinion on this, because my entire time reading this, I always inferred that Zane's, like, brain damage wasn't that bad, but it just was heightened through Tally's special eyes.
Genuinely, I did not think it was that bad. Because all it said was, like, he was shaky, and he sounded normal, and I literally just, like, was like, oh, he probably looks like me on my medication.
Yeah.
Like, my hands tremor.
Exactly.
That's all I thought that
Exactly.
he was.
I'm sure, like, because it's like, he can ride a fucking hoverboard and travel to this place. Like, he's clearly not terrible.
No.
Like, at no point were they talking about how they had to, like, stop for days to have him rest. Like, it seemed like he was fine, except just, like, maybe a little weak physically.
I'm pretty sure at one point in this book, she did call him, like, a little baby.
Yeah.
Too, looking like a little baby.
That's insane.
God.
But, yeah, it's just, god damn it. They really fucked Zane over. We went on such a journey, because, like, when we were introduced to Zane, we did not like him at all.
I know.
And now I'm like, I feel so bad for Zane, and I want him here at the end of this book.
I know.
He loved her so much.
He loved her so much.
Unconditionally.
God. It's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I do have to say, and like, yes, I do know that she was altered to actually experience things in a way heightened way, but I will say, Zane being sad, getting out of the tub to text you that I'm sad, and then coming back, and then like reading things through her point of view, where she was like, no one's gonna understand the way that I see death in such an intense way, more than anyone ever has. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, she's literally talking like I did when I was 16.
Yeah.
I get you're brainwashed, but it also feels like a very 16-year-old thing to say.
And I mean, she is 16.
I also did like that when she said this was the final price of her massive ego, I was like, okay, I needed this comedic levity, because I am so sad Zane just died, and she's just like, I mean, I get it's filtered through a very, like, selfish point of view because it's her, but all of the things she was saying, I was like, okay, we can go on. We can go on. This is sad, but kind of funny how she's handling it.
That's also, like, her reaction to this. I'm just like, I don't know if you can rewire yourself, like...
I know, because even when she was, like, looking down at his little fingernails turning from, like, pink to white.
Yeah.
I was just like, I think you're always just gonna, like, see all of his flaws. And I don't know. I mean, we don't know. They were never given the chance.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if Tally loved Zane as much as Zane loved Tally.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
I think it was just convenient.
Yeah. I think Tally was holding on to, like, what they had from when things were easier for her.
Yeah. For sure.
Gosh. Okay. We'll move on. We'll probably discuss this more when we do our wrap-up for this entire series.
And we will probably discuss it well into the night outside of the podcast.
And probably for the next, 6 months, Maggie and I are going to keep texting each other being like, remember when Tally didn't actually deserve Zane?
Yeah.
But
so,
moving on.
She gets out. Shane is like, you know what? I have a plan. We started this. We got to end this. We got to go back home, tell special circumstances. But I need sleep first.
Yeah. And Shay's like, this is why you need to stay special because they're not going to believe me about the armory. And if you go, you tell them what happened. Like, maybe we can stop this war. But, I'm tired. I need to go to sleep. And Tally's like, uh-huh. And then Tally just dips.
Oh, of course, because she's on, the I gotta save everyone on my own bullshit.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, the only person you love just died.
I mean, yeah.
So, I get it.
Yeah, and then, weird flex, because she's taking 2 hoverboards.
Can we talk about this? How she's, alternating the weight between them?
Yeah.
Just jumping back and forth.
I know, I'm like, girl, this isn't a video game.
I literally, foot to foot, as if it doesn't even matter. And then I do like so nothing can touch her at this point. She says she is truly special, where she's just looking down and reflecting on the fact that, nothing matters. Not even if she fell and died, she's not worried about that. She doesn't give a shit about anything.
Yeah.
Kinda liberating.
And I know, and she has it's a few days trip. It's 3 days now that she doesn't have to take the scenic route.
Yeah.
Which tells you how much they had to go around things for this journey. Because it was 2 weeks to get to San Diego. Or not San Diego, Diego. And now it's only 3 days to get back because they had to, obviously go around all of the stuff to avoid wardens and stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
So she is, traveling. She does set off a fire at a runaway camp and just kind of, keeps going.
Oh, yeah. She sees some, pretty struggling and then sets, fire accidentally.
Yeah, something, falls off of her hoverboard and sets fire.
And then she's like, whatever, they're gonna die out here anyways.
Yeah.
I'm, pretty sure that's her mindset.
She's honestly, they're gonna realize that, they're gonna try to use, the tracker that they got to go to Diego. The interface is down. They're not gonna be able to get there, so they're either gonna turn around or they're gonna die. Cryptic. It's so cryptic, and that is actually her thought. we're not exaggerating.
Oh, yeah. Homegirl wants to do some damage.
To be fair, she is in a dark place right now.
Yeah, that's fair. She's doing the best for that.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, on her second night flying, one of the 2 hoverboards, one of her 2 rollerblades, starts sputtering out and dies. I kind of love that. She's just jumping back and forth, and one starts dying, and then it just slowly caveens off into a tree and hits it.
She loves to break hoverboards. That's her thing.
I know.
And I also think it's really important. This is mentioned twice in this section where Tally on this board is longing for being pretty, and I think that's so important because when you think about the first book, how she longed to be pretty, and now what that would mean now to just kind of still want that, but with knowing what she wants is to still just not be pretty the way she wanted to initially be pretty. She wants to be pretty to not have to go through all of these things.
Yeah, she just doesn't want to think. She wants no thoughts. Head empty.
Arm spaghetti.
It's
that. I think that's such an important understanding of where Tally's brain is at now, to be I went through all of this just to be pretty. And even knowing now what I know about everything, I would still just rather be pretty.
Yeah.
That's so fucked.
She just wants an easy lifestyle.
God. But then she goes to the Rusty Ruins for a moment. Did we know why she actually goes there? Oh, I think it's just kind of reflect.
I think it's just to reflect. She slows down when she gets there to rest, I guess. I mean, she only has 1 hoverboard, so we don't really know. And this, to me, is when it indicates that this must have been an insanely long trip. She essentially traveled 50 hours without stopping, no sleeping. And she slows down in the Rusty Ruins, and she hears a ping on the cutter's frequency, which is kind of odd. She doesn't know where she's going.
all the cutters are in Diego. What's going on?
She thinks maybe it's an abandoned signal. She doesn't really know. She makes up a language where she'll ask it questions, and 1 ping means yes, and 2 means no. And she realizes it's coming from the tallest building in Rusty Ruins. So she slowly slides up the side of the building and comes face to face with David.
Yep. David is there. He's hacked the system.
We're not sure how long he's been there because it seems like he's gone through a lot of Spag Bowl.
Yeah, it seems like
favorite.
yeah. Well, and it said that we learned that Shay was gonna come meet Tally, but was like, I think it's better if I stay in Diego. Have fun stopping the war. And so they sent David instead, who took the helicopter to meet her. So that's why he got there first.
Yeah. She is not patient.
I know. It's just, and it's also, she kind of realizes, I could have just taken the helicopter and been here so much faster. Are you fucking kidding me?
This is a good lesson for children to learn that sometimes you should ask for help.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I had asked more questions in school.
Exactly. So, we all need to learn how to ask for help sometimes. And boy, did Tally could have used a hand.
Yep, there's the one lesson you can take away from the Uglies.
Yeah, so, we see David. We're there at the ruins. He's been waiting for her. David also mentions that Maddie is worried about Tally, and Tally's like, why would she be worried about me?
I know, Tally's like, what the fuck? Maddie hates me. And he's like, no, she actually studied Fausto's brain, and she actually realizes how insanely fucked up you are.
Yeah, and it's just like, Maddie, you should have realized that sooner. You were a huge bitch to Tally at the end of book 2.
That is fair. As my ex-boyfriend did say to me once, according to my journal in 2017, he liked me because I'm not perfect, and his ex-girlfriend was perfect. That's a little bit of the energy I'm getting from David here.
That's really funny.
I know.
And David kind of tries to make her feel better because Tally's kind of I did all of this, I'm to blame for everything, and David's like, what are you talking about? You helped us, make this cure even, better now that we, know that people can kind of think their way out of things. You made people find freedom. You should be happy for that. Even though knowing all of these bad things that happened, you have brought about such a great change to the world.
Exactly. You can't stop a revolution. I mean, yes, the love of your life did die, but once they figured out that she cured herself, it made his mom realize that all they had to do was work around the lesions. They don't have to destroy them.
Yeah.
I mean, rest in peace, Zane. He was kind of an essential piece to that puzzle.
Honestly, he was. He died. Honestly, I feel like Zane died, for something he believed in.
Yeah. I mean,
I miss
sucks.
Zane.
He really... Okay.
We'll
go down this road.
Wait for a recap, everybody. We're gonna get there.
Yeah, if you want to get here in the next 30 minutes, we will be talking about this all night.
But yeah, and this entire exchange with David, it's not super friendly, but it's not super negative. No. It feels very reminiscent of when you do have a long conversation with an ex, where it's just it has that familiarity to it.
Exactly.
But it's not rooted in oh, I really miss this person. It's just kind of rooted in that wow, this person meant so much to me then, and this is where we are now.
That is so funny that you bring that up because yes, it's like meeting an ex, but when she was saying that she smelled David's fear, I imagined it as that scene in Gladiator where they're going into the arena and the guy behind Russell Crowe pisses himself and Russell Crowe just looks at him and is rolls his eyes because he's so weak and is probably gonna die. That was how I saw their interaction.
Why?
I don't know. I always thought David was gonna pee himself around Tally because he's so scared.
I don't think David's that scared. I mean,
no, you're probably right.
But that's just my interpretation.
And he said, listen, you go get him, champ. Dr. Cable doesn't stand... Could you imagine if he said that?
Yeah, he's like, hey, sport. You need to go do what you need to do out there. We're in the final round of this basketball game.
He slaps her butt on the way out.
But instead, what he actually does is he gives her the vial with the cure in it, as an option. He's like, you don't need to take it right now, but in case you want it, here.
Yeah, he says, Dr. Cable, she doesn't stand a chance. Diego helped us smuggle 200,000 pills into your city over the last month. It is ready to come down. The whole system is just ready to fall.
Yeah.
And so she's like, okay, maybe I should sleep before this.
Yeah, so Tally, like, sleeps for a second, and then Tally's like, okay, now I need to go to the city. Peace. And we learned that the Tally City, which is still nameless, we've never learned the name of the city.
I just keep calling it New Pretty Town.
Well, because it's New Pretty Town, Uglyville, Crumblyville.
I know. It's like the same setup in Diego, too.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like, I feel like they have like a city name, but these are like neighborhoods within the city.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's new rules now that like war has broken out. No more hot air balloons. No more like hoverboards unless you're in a like an area for hoverboarding.
No fireworks.
No fireworks. And Tally's like, I'm going to special circumstances immediately. And she's, like, racing to get there.
Oh, yeah. She reaches out through the city interface, which now a ton of people must be reaching out because she's put in, like, a queue line, which is not a great sign.
Yeah.
The city's probably under some distress, and she has a little back and forth with one of Dr. Cable's sub-commanders, Maximilla Feaster?
Yeah, I know. We gave her such a cool name to only get to see her for like 5 pages. Very, very weird.
It is very strange.
Yeah, Feaster picks up and Tally's like, let me talk to Dr. Cable. And Feaster's like, you can't. She's in the meeting with like the council. And Tally's like, perfect. I need to meet with the council too. If like 2 birds, 1 stone. Mm-hmm. And Feaster's like, no, she's in a meeting. And Tally's like, tell me where she is or else I'll find it.
And interesting to learn is that Dr. Cable is also now the acting chair of city council, so she is basically like whatever the president equivalent would be.
She's like in fucking charge.
Yeah, and Talia's like, let me in front of her and city council because it concerns the Cutters battling with Diego, and Maximilia Feaster, or whatever her name is, is like, fine, you know what, I'll open the doors or whatever, and she does, and Tally kind of like finagles her way in there by saying that Diego is planning a surprise attack on them.
Yeah. And so Feaster's like, fine, you can come in. They're in, like, the operating theater on 4J. And Tally's like, hell yeah. And she, like, races in there. She goes down the elevator shaft instead of taking the elevator because she has to get there immediately.
No time.
I have to do this now.
Exactly.
She gets in the room. Door closes. She's locked in. Feaster's like, cool, Dr. Cable will be with you when she's done with her meeting.
She does a little kickflip on the way because she earned it. She took time going down that shaft. She beat the elevators. But she realizes, oh no, it's a trap.
Yeah, they fucking trapped her in this room. Like, no, you work on our time. We don't work around your schedule.
I like to imagine she enters the auditorium. All the lights go out, except for one spotlight on Dr. Cable. Dr. Cable comes out holding the knife that Tally hurt her hand on in the armory and is like, looking for this? Were you coming to say that you attacked the armory? We found your skin cells on the knife.
Yeah, honestly, like, well, yeah, Dr. Cable finally comes into the room after, like, a few hours. And basically does what Maggie just said. Like, Dr. Cable reveals, like, I know you guys destroyed the armory, and I don't care. I want war, and I want to be in charge, and I want to rule the world.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, because as Dr. Cable says, quote, other cities were just waiting to take Diego down with their new system and flaunting of morphological standards anyways, and Tally just provided her ammunition.
Exactly.
Which is interesting. I don't think that's true.
I could see it being true. It seems like other cities were against the new system, because I think later in the book they talk about how the cure has been traveling to other places.
Oh, that does make sense. Because I guess David did say that they had exported like 100,000 pills.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right? Like, there's so much we just don't get to know.
Wow.
And so Tally does what Tally does with Dr. Cable, and she starts lying.
Oh, for sure.
She basically takes out the injector vial of the cure she has and says, this is my satellite. People are hearing you right now. I'm going to put your confession up on the news feeds. Everyone's going to know that you're just starting this war to start a war.
And Dr. Cable's like, Tally, you silly goose, we're underground. And then Tally's like, oh, it's because I didn't hit send. And at that same time, Dr. Cable kind of like lunges towards her.
And Tally basically, like, stabs Dr. Cable in the hand with the cure, because apparently you don't need to stab anybody anywhere particular to get the cure inside them.
Yeah, that's true.
I figured you'd have to hit, like, you know, like a vein in the neck or, like, an arm.
I always see, whenever it's an injection and you have to put it somewhere, as, like, a very dramatic, like, rip it off with your mouth and then stick it in your thigh like an EpiPen sort of a moment.
Yeah, this was not that, unfortunately.
This was not that, just a hand.
Yeah, just kind of, like, grazed her hand and, like, was enough.
So specials come in for her as she kicks Dr. Cable in the stomach. Why not add, pain to insult?
Yeah.
And then she smashes the injector, the serum, whatever it is, with like a roundhouse kick. It says that she roundhouse kicks it, which feels very dramatic.
Exactly. Yeah. Super weird. Then Tally basically just gets put in jail.
Yeah, and time starts moving pretty fast. I feel like she's in jail for like a month, I would almost say.
I assumed like a few weeks to a month because basically now that Dr. Cable has started to change, Dr. Diego has started talking, like Shay and like Ho and Tox, they're all on news feeds, like talking about like what the specials did to them. And Diego's talking about what they did to them, and
they're showing, like, I don't know if it's x-rays or just, like, infographics of Tally's body, essentially being like, here's what the prototype, the perfect special looks like.
Yeah.
And we sort of, like, tell time through Dr. Cable's body adapting to the cure. She is becoming really paranoid.
Yeah.
As Shay and,
Tox. Tox and Ho
comes on, and she said she's like aged. Looks like she's aged 1,000 years, and we kind of talked about this a little bit.
That was later though, because we don't see Dr. Cable right now. This is all just when Tally's in the cell and hearing about what's happening outside.
I thought they said that Dr. Cable came to visit her a bit.
Not really. It's what it sounded like. Because like eventually she's removed from power, and basically all the specials are lawyered to become not special anymore. It's like illegal to be a special.
Yeah, and then also the second attack on Diego doesn't happen because Dr. Cable is the head of council. She's not cruel anymore. What else? What does she have to go for them for?
Well, exactly. And like Diego basically voices what's going on, so like they can't attack anymore without it being like, oh, they're just having a war to have a war.
Yeah,
they can't do that
because now everyone knows that it was just two people who attacked the armory.
Exactly.
And there is a part where finally a doctor comes to let Tally out. Thank God.
Well, and then we start hearing from behind the door. It's like these two people that are like, I don't know if this gas is gonna knock her out. And that's when I think I fully realized that like the Cutters are like a completely different type of special. I don't know why it didn't click in my head until like this part that they're like an extremely different version of the special body.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I don't think this gas is going to knock her out. She's like the last person we have to despecialize. They're like, oh, well, we made this just for her. It's going to work.
Yeah.
And Tally's like pissed because she doesn't want to go through another surgery.
Oh, poor Tally.
Which I was like, fair, but also like, don't you want to not be like this anymore?
I don't think I would want to be.
Right?
Like, it seems like Shay mellowed out a ton.
Right? Like,
same with Dr. Cable.
And like, yeah, because it's like Tally still has a lot of anger in her.
I would not want to be angry all the time.
Exactly. Like, that sounds terrible and not worth it. But gas starts like coming into the room. It's not doing anything, and Tally gets a ping that says, "Play dead," essentially. Yeah. And Tally can't make out quite who it is, but just listens. Because David kept telling her when they met, like, you're not alone. So Tally's like, someone is here to help me.
Yeah, I actually, like, kind of forgot about this part.
Yeah.
But the two doctors take her out of her cell, and they, like, put her in a tank that I viewed it as, like, sealed shut.
Yeah.
And the tank starts filling with liquid, and this was when I was in the bath, and also heard Google say that your skin could fall off if you spent too much time in the bath. And they were also describing, like, liquid pouring out of Tally's eyes. And everything was just very uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah. I hated reading this description because I already don't like being underwater for lots of time. And I don't want to be locked in a tank that's just submerged in water goo.
Absolutely not. Before we started recording this, Laura and I did talk about, I don't know if you know Jesse Eisenberg's hit movie, Now You See Me, but there is a scene where Isla Fisher is in a tank of water for 3 minutes and was actually drowning on set.
Yeah.
So exactly. I kind of pictured it like this.
Yeah.
But someone comes in to, like, save her and starts fighting the doctors. Yeah. But her vision's blurry.
Exactly.
Doesn't know what's going on.
The goo and water is cloudy, and Tally's like, I can't see. But Tally's like, I'm gonna help them. Yeah. And she's able to, like, use her body to knock the entire tank over. Uh-huh. And that's when we see that Dr. Cable is here to rescue her. Yeah,
she's like, what the fuck? Why you?
And this is when we see that Dr. Cable is, like, now 1,000 years old somehow.
That makes sense. Like our little Benjamin Button.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. But this is, again, a weird moment. Because Dr. Cable, Tally's obviously Dr. Cable, why did you rescue me? And Dr. Cable's like, you're my, like, last special. You're the last one. I just want one of my creations to survive. Like she's a little Frankenstein monster, essentially.
And at that point, that is where I would want the cure.
Right?
I don't want anyone to have any sort of property over me, especially someone as fucking evil as her.
Exactly. And Tally, and this is where I also get kind of pissed off, because Tally's like, well, okay, I guess I'll leave.
Yeah. Dr. Cable's like, whatever, I've always had faith you won't change. And she's right. She doesn't. It really, it made me so mad.
Exactly. And God, I can't believe, I really cannot believe, knowing that what we've known and learned about Tally over these 3 books, that she would have kept this reality.
It is kind of an interesting relationship, and I wonder, besides the Hunger Games, if there's any other book that I can, like, map this onto. But it's sort of the same with, like, with her and Snow, where they, like, always had that, they have that one line in that's, like, an understanding where it's like, well, we are many things to each other, but we do not lie. Because it's like, they've seen the worst of each other, and Dr. Cable is selfish up till the end.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of shocked this is Tally's... Well, I guess it kind of falls in line with her character, because she kind of is just a pawn.
Yeah.
If this was Tally actually doing something for herself once, I think she would choose the cure.
Yeah. I guess we'll never know.
I don't know. Anyways, she gets out.
She gets free. There's a hoverboard waiting for her on the roof, and she's like, cool.
She boots up her skin-tenna, and she has some voicemails, none of which are from Shay.
She does finally cry, though. Is that before or after the voicemails?
No, that's when she's up in the hoverboard, up in the trees. We've taken the landscape, and she starts finally crying.
God, yeah, and... Yeah. Oh, yeah. She finally cries. And a few pages later, we get all of her messages. And boy, a lot just happens in these messages. So she has 3.
Paris does run into Andrew Smith, the plot line we never needed. And I like to think that maybe him and Andrew Smith are dating now.
Yeah, maybe. Shay has sent her a message and has been updating Tally hourly because Shay thinks Tally's going to come to Diego to help them. She was sorry about the specializations, but I was like, why are you sorry about that? No, we know specials shouldn't exist.
Oh, she did send her a message.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of sweet.
Yeah, and then...
Maddie sent her a message.
Exactly.
I would panic.
I know, and Maddie, a big question here, because Maddie says David is out in the wild, I don't know where he is, but if you find him, tell him I love him. And I'm like, wow, they're not on speaking terms anymore? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, she... lets him know when she does meet up with David that his mom left a message. I love you. Call your son.
Right?
First
or
of all.
Call your mom, first of all.
There's
Something
a lot.
happened with them, and I don't know what it is.
Oh, shit, we gotta know.
Oh, yeah, and Paris' message, she's like, finally, we're best friends forever, because Paris is going to go around giving the cure. Oh, he's going to go around the Andrew Simpson Smith people, like you said.
Paris has decided he wants to study abroad.
Exactly. So Tally, like, listens to these, and she's like, okay, cool. She goes, to the ruins. David isn't there. For old time's sake, she sets off a flare.
She does.
And then he shows up the next morning.
She lets him know that Maddie left a message to say, I love you. And she gets choked up saying it, which why?
Yeah.
Why? Do you love him again? Makes
I don't
no
know.
sense.
Or maybe it's because she's thinking about how she was in love with Zane. We never really know.
If one of my ex's moms called me and told me to tell their son they loved, I could deliver it with nothing.
Yeah.
Why are you choking up? Even if I was like still fucking them, but we had broken up.
I
I'd
know.
be like, it's not that weird. It's
Yeah.
kind of weird. But...
I did like the moment when David told Tally that she still looks like Tally.
That was sweet.
That was really sweet. I did enjoy that. But they kind of just agree to kind of go off together.
Yeah, it kind of ends, and Tally says, I want to save the world, and David says, can I come? And she goes, you're the right man for the job. And she's like, but we have to leave the world with a special message, so they know. And that special message is where this book and the series lands on, so it only makes sense that we're going to read the manifesto that Tally leaves.
Yes.
For you. Do you want to read it, or do you want me to?
I don't care. What do you think?
I don't care. I like reading.
Sure, do it.
Alright, this is Tally's manifesto. I don't need to be cured, just like I don't need to cut myself to feel or think. From now on, no one rewires my mind but me. Back in Diego, the doctors said that I could learn to control my behavior, and I have. You all helped in one way or another. But you know what? It's not my behavior I'm worried about anymore. It's yours. That's why you won't be seeing from me for a while. Maybe a long time. David and I are staying out here in the wild. You all say you need us. Well, maybe you do, but not to help you. You have enough help, with the millions of bubbly new minds about to be unleashed, with all the cities coming awake at last. Together, you're more than enough to change the world without us. So from now on, David and I are here to stand in your way. You see, freedom has a way of destroying things. You have your new smokes, your new ideas, whole new cities and new systems. Well, we're the new special circumstances. Whenever you push too far into the wild, we'll be waiting, ready to push back. Remember us every time you decide to dig a new foundation, dam a river, or cut down a tree. Worry about us. However hungry the human race becomes now that pretties are waking up, the wild still has teeth. Special teeth. Ugly teeth. Us. We'll be out here somewhere watching, ready to remind you of the price the Rusties paid for going too far. I love you all, but it's time to say goodbye for now. Be careful with the world, or the next time we meet, it might get ugly. Tally Youngblood.
Again, weird ending there. Because it felt very angry. And, like, we're supposed to believe that Tally's revived herself, but I really don't think she has.
No, I don't. I think she still has, like, a superiority complex. And also, it doesn't make sense.
I think it would have been better if Tally's message is kind of like, you guys don't need help from me anymore. I've helped enough. I'm gonna go live my life the way I want to finally. That's what I wanted in an ending.
It genuinely, like, her character development was great up until the end where it makes no sense. Because if you've been controlled your whole life, wouldn't you want to relinquish that?
Yeah.
Live in peace?
Exactly.
Just live out your days?
But no, now it's like living in anger of what could happen next.
Exactly, and wanting to control other people.
Exactly.
And it doesn't, I don't really know. David has always just seemed like everything will be in character for David, because David's David, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, he is a little agricultural, like, bean boy. And she is, like, big military state tank girl.
Yeah.
I cannot see them coexisting in the wild.
It's just, like, it feels like with everything we've learned over these past 3 books, it's like, Tally would have wanted finally to be, like, in her body the way she wants to. I feel like she would get a surgery to despecialize herself, and she would go, like, live in peace, whether with David or not.
Like, I feel like to her core she is a city girl.
Yeah.
It doesn't make, I don't know. It doesn't make
sense.
I don't
know. She's only 16. Like, she can't make these big decisions right now.
Absolutely not. She needs to learn how to, like, survive in a society.
God, right?
As who she is now.
Gosh. Yeah. We could go on about this, and we probably will go on about this a lot when we do our series recap.
This is true.
But I think we should end it here and go into our top 5, Maggie.
That is, oh my god, I can't believe we're going to do a series recap. Wow.
I know, right? Like, we still have to do that.
Wow.
I'm so excited.
We finished it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we have to read extras, too. That's next week.
Yes, this is true. We will be coming out with a special edition of extras.
Exactly. Extras is going to be 1 full episode, the entire book, so you guys don't have to wait. We're doing that because extras is a little different. It's a little special, if you will.
It's a little special.
Because The Uglies is a trilogy, but the extras is like an official 4th book of this series, but following a different character.
It is true. Like, on the back of my book, it says read them all, and extras is included in it.
Exactly. It's like, and Scott Westerfeld has called it the 4th book in his trilogy, because he felt like the story wasn't fully wrapped up with specials, so we'll see. I know it follows a completely different girl, like 15 years later.
Interesting.
I'm kind of imagining it, and I haven't read this book at all, because I remember even being in middle school reading these books and being like, I don't need to read extras. Like, the story wrapped up. Like, what else is there to tell?
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost like instead of he could have done like a 20-page epilogue, and instead he just wrote an entire epilogue as a book.
Yeah.
And at least that's what my brain is kind of expecting it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll get into that next week and talk about that with Hot Discourse.
Very fun hot discourse with a very fun hot guest.
Exactly. But now let's do our top 5. Let's wrap up specials with our top 5.
Yep.
And our top 5 this episode is just things we would have really liked to know more about.
Yeah.
Things we would like to see, things we didn't feel like we got to sink our teeth into enough.
And most importantly, a few side stories we want you to, like, fantasize about what ifs.
Exactly. If you guys want to start writing fan fiction, please do.
Oh my god, these are fan fiction prompts.
Exactly.
Wow.
And I love a fan fiction.
That's great. Okay, so yeah, these are top 5 things / side stories we would have liked to see. I guess I'll start with number 5.
Do it.
So if you guys might have remembered at the beginning of this book, we had a little little nibble at a rendezvous that never happened. But number 5, I want David and the Smoky Girl to date.
Yeah.
I see what that is.
It seemed like that's what we were being led to believe.
He came into the party, he kind of like saved her. What's
Ooh,
their thing?
she had long hair.
They
Who
were
knows?
touching hands?
Exactly.
Uh-oh.
What happened to her?
I don't know.
Number 4 is we just want a plot line for Paris. We've said this multiple times throughout our rereading of this series. He was built up to be such a big character. Yeah. And boy, did he not be that. He was not a big character at all. He was mentioned very seldomly, very briefly. You know, he's supposed to be Tally's best friend, and yet Fausto was more important than him.
I was really excited. I literally think in the first 3 pages of reading this, I was like, oh, I'm Paris to you. And
yeah.
Then, I mean, he turned out to be a shitty friend, but I imagined this guy with, like, blonde hair, just the most chiseled face, shirt always open, chest hair, like always having babes on his arms.
Exactly.
And now, what's he doing? Maybe with Andrew Smith. I don't know.
We don't know. We can only fantasize.
Brings us to number 3. We are dying to know, how did Dr. Cable become a special?
I would love if, instead of extras, whatever that might be, if it was a Dr. Cable origin story, I'd be so invested in that.
She only ever alluded to being like, I was once like you to Tally, and being a tricky ugly.
Yeah.
So,
we know she
was like
she
Tally.
has a past, yeah. Honestly, maybe that would be the fan fiction I write.
I would be very interested to read it.
Yeah, maybe we could write a fan fiction together.
That would be fun.
That would be very fun. We'll talk more.
Stay tuned, guys.
Number 2, and we've said this before and we'll say it again. This is Maggie's big thing.
Yep.
Shay and Fausto should be fucking.
They should be fucking.
And if they might be, but we want a concrete evidence that they are fucking.
It would make sense because he seems like a Taurus.
Yeah.
He would be humble, down to earth. I don't know what the opposite that would be. Shay is the most chaotic sign I can think of.
She's a Virgo because their birthday's in September.
But you need like a chaotic girlfriend, humble boyfriend.
Yeah,
that would be that.
That's true.
And number 1, we really wanted to see this. We wanted to see Tally and David go their own ways.
I honestly think if it was going to end this way, Tally should have went off by herself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She needs to either be alone for a bit and figure out how she deals with shit, or figure out how she deals with shit in society.
Why doesn't she go talk to the psychologist from book 2 that was worried about Shay? I'm sure he's worried about Tally.
I would
Get
go
some
back.
therapy, girl.
If a therapist offered me cookies after, I'd suck his dick.
No, you can't do that with a therapist, Maggie.
I hit on one
They'll
therapist.
lose their license.
That's fair.
And honestly, okay, outside of the top 5, I have a -1 for us, Maggie, because this is something we would not want to see.
Yeah, what's up?
At all.
Yeah.
We want to see less of Andrew Simpson Smith.
Oh, God.
Well, because again, he was introduced to be this, like, big character, and I was like, okay, he's gonna mean something in the 3rd book.
Yeah.
And we get to the 3rd book, he's brought up, and I'm like, okay, hell yeah, he's back, and then he's gone again.
That is true.
Like, we spent 100 pages with him last book.
We did not need that just so it could be, like, revealed later on that he was giving out trackers.
Exactly.
We didn't need that.
No, we didn't need that.
No.
But gang, that's going to be it for specials. Join us next week when we get to extras. We're really excited to do a full big book episode. For right now, if you can, please rate and review our podcast. Yeah, we read it. Anywhere you listen to podcasts. Yeah. Also follow us on Instagram at Maggie and Laura. Follow us on all our social medias. We have a TikTok and a Twitter. You don't want to miss it. We're also an Audio Mint podcast. So if you're looking for like another cool podcast, I suggest looking there.
That is cool. We have fun ones.
Yeah.
That's, whatever. We're keeping that sentence in
there. Exactly. Yeah, we are. Thank you guys for joining us on this journey, and we love you so much. And thank you guys. Goodbye.
Bye.
You were just listening to an Audio Mint podcast.